everybody. I just wanted to hop on here real quick. Life is life. Um, I had happened to run into just a little short clip of the interview with Drea Kelly recently on TikTok, discussing domestic violence. And she was talking about domestic violence and the colorism within it. And she said when she came out with her story, and she did say to the interviewer, she was like, "Look, I know you have to say allegedly. There's nothing alleged about what happened to me." And he was like, "I do have to say it, but thank you for understanding." Um, and she said, Cassie, because of the way she looked, she saw celebrities all over social media saying hashtag Cassie, courage and all this stuff coming out. And she said she didn't see that for herself. She didn't see that for Kiki. She didn't see that for Kim Porter. And I understand the basics of what she's saying. I do. That light is low. Um, I am not here to refute Drea Kelly's experience, certainly not with domestic violence. And yes, I do think people were incredibly insensitive to R. Kelly's victims. It was immediately where are the parents? It was immediately Drea Kelly, you married a man that married a minor. And she even said herself, even though she was dancing with him, like, I mean, as an artist dancing behind him or whatever, even Sparkle said they thought these were just rumors at the time. And it seemed that R. Kelly and his people seemed to be very good at isolating different groups from one another. So it's possible. Now, were there weird things like what she said, the dancers weren't allowed to talk to the background singers, stuff? Drea Kelly did say those things. However, R. Kelly physically assaulting her, abusing her, it's something I believe still. And people saying she should have known. Um, at the end of the day, those kind of domestic violence situations, which I hate when people even bring them up because I just think it's assault. You have a better chance of somebody going to jail if they walk up to you and smack you on the street than you do somebody you're living with and who has abused you regularly and therefore traumatized you and often children if they are in the household. I understand Drea's point. And I read some of the comments. I can only take so much whenever it comes to domestic violence and comments. I can only take so much. And somebody was like, you married a man who married a minor, whatever. I don't think that's fair. Somebody else said, what did they say that? I was kind of like, mm, I, I'll just give my thoughts on it. I don't think colorism is a fair assessment of it. She even made the comment, well, thank God Tina Turner didn't come out with her story in the day of social media. Um, Tina Turner is somebody, it still doesn't sit right with me, the way in which the Black community specifically laughed and made fun of her abuse. The people can see me out, people can see me out, and eat the cake anime. And it became these sort of popular jokes to pretend to be Ike Turner. And Ike Turner was clearly, I'm an armchair psychologist, but had psychopathic traits, was a drug addict, and ridiculously abusive. And Tina Turner still gave us some of the best music this world has ever seen that I know I personally still have on rotation today. I thought the way people made fun of her domestic violence situation and then for people like Ike Turner to continue abusing her, saying, "Oh yeah, she want to talk about nom 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 nom," and she don't talk like that. Yeah, did we talk about how many times you hit her in the face and her face had to be restructured? That also contributed to her voice change. The hell with him. So I don't know in social media. I'm saying even without social media, we were very dismissive collectively of the abuse that she endured. And Tina Turner would technically, I think, end up on the lighter complexion side. But once again, I told y'all about colorism. I just think y'all treat it like it's racism or sex, something more. I just think colorism is very subjective. However, Cassie stood up, told her story, got a settlement because Diddy didn't want this stuff coming out. Multiple people started coming out and they ended up in court, and she's still scared for her safety. This is a woman who was talking about committing suicide to her husband and saying, "You'll be okay, you'll be able to raise these kids." You know how low you have to go internally to even say that out loud, because women don't just leave their children. And I think it's and she did, to her credit, Drea was like, we should have made a big deal out of it. But why are all these other people ignoring the other people's pain? I don't know what side of the internet y'all are on. And please, I stand to be corrected because I do not play about domestic assault. I don't. And when you've known people who have experienced those situations, I don't go around in denial like, oh, they should have said this and done it. It will change the way you think if you deal with it right and you're not looking at them in judgment. My thing with her bringing up Kim Porter, I don't know about y'all. I didn't know about Kim Porter having been physically abused by Diddy. A lot of this stuff was news to me. And it wasn't something I ever heard her come out and talk about and say, the same way we had always heard rumors that Diddy was bisexual and we knew he was scamming his artists, all of which turned out to be true. I was not even aware of that stuff until she died. And I don't know about y'all, but I wasn't on or a part of the internet circuit where apparently some people knew that. So it feels like, oh, we didn't support Kim Porter. I don't remember anything publicly coming out because I certainly would have. It certainly would not have been, oh, she should have done this for me. Now, an abuser is abuser and has had a long habit of it. What I'm saying is I did not know that. I didn't know about Misa. I did not know these things. Okay. And Cassie standing up against him while having to basically be treated like a prostitute, forced to be on drugs, being dragged. And we actually saw the video of him doing it, which I only saw once and I never want to see again. There's also evidence, and even then, I think Drea's calculation is off. And like I said, I understand the premise that she has. Drea's calculation is off to me in the sense that we had video footage and people were still saying that's just what they are into. Couples go through stuff like that. What kind of dysfunctional shit have y'all conditioned yourself for? Because even if you grow up in dysfunction, because I certainly had my experiences with it, you grow up with dysfunction, there's still something in you, dysfunction in the moral compass. You still understand that there's something wrong with this. So for people to say couples go through that, and I heard women in the hair shop and everything else, acting like this was no big deal, and now all of a sudden she wants to make a big deal out of it. It wasn't like Cassie didn't get a ton of bullshit as she testified with evidence, with a husband, with kids, with video evidence that was even presented in court that we have not seen. I think, and this is why I feel like these colorism conversations annoy me so much. I have never claimed that dark-skinned Black girls are not mistreated or deemed less desirable. And I've always said, I think a lot of the roots of the intertwining of, this, oh, light-skinned girls think they're this and da-da-da. People, that bullshit starts in your home. I think it tends to be more intraracial than anything else. It is within the racial group because I have not experienced white people treating me differently because I was light skinned. I think Black women also have these issues. One, I do think people are teased growing up and that has resentment. But I also think it's because of what happens in your home. Because there are plenty of dark skinned girls that walk around with the confidence, not that they don't experience stuff, but they were affirmed in their households despite what the world did. And I think we don't give that enough attention. All right, so that was my feelings about Kim Porter. I didn't know. I did not know. This was not something I felt like had ever been made a huge topic of, so on and so forth. Two, when she said Keke Palmer, I never doubted Keke Palmer was abused. And if I'm being honest, I'm not saying that people were not nasty about it or, trying to doubt her story, this, that, and the other. I knew when that boy who was a brother of somebody who was on Empire, I already knew he was jealous of her. I already knew that there was going to be resentment for her success. And I'm sure he wanted a relationship and a baby with her to be able to control her. And the abuse, it builds, right? By the time it's usually that comes a little later after the love bombing. And I knew that Keke Palmer wouldn't be lying. We don't ever hear from Keke Palmer's mother who got on the internet to defend her daughter. And I don't know about y'all's internet, but I did feel for the most part, not saying once again that there were not people denying her or trashing her for it. I did feel as if Black people went to bat for Keke because we liked her. I think at the point, and I do understand why abuse victims do this, okay? She went back with him, taking family pictures and then put it on the internet. And a lot of people's attitude in the comments and even other videos I saw on YouTube was like, we need to say other people's business. We need to say other people's business because she clearly went back, which is not unusual. Psychologists have said on average, abused women go back to their partners at least on average 7 times. So I knew what was happening, and that didn't mean to me, oh, he didn't hit her. But I think also the public kind of felt like, now this is what she's telling us after she told us about all this abuse. And the thing is, Keke Palmer didn't have to put that out in public. We didn't have to know anything, right? And him making the comments about her having fun with Usher at a concert, knowing what Usher does and being jealous, and then trying to devalue her motherhood, which is what abusers do, so they can threaten things to take away from the kid, even though we know his broke ass couldn't take care of a kid if he even tried to. I don't feel like that was because she was dark skinned. And I still quote Bernie Mac's daughter, Janice McCullough, when she said, this country does not hate domestic violence. They hate domestic violence victims. And I think that is so true because women who are abused are often questioned. And when they're abused by rich and powerful men, and even those with celebrity, and some that aren't celebrities but make money, the presumption, everybody's knee-jerk reaction is, oh, they just want money. Even if they do, for the pain they endured, because of statutes of limitations, so on and so forth, the very thing you are praising that man for acquiring, money and wealth, the reason why you're immediately defending him, now somehow becomes a non-virtue and therefore something to be shamed for when women ask for that money for a lifestyle that they were probably giving them, despite, as kind of like, I forget what they call it, when you go back and give money and gifts after you've abused somebody. And I think to blame colorism and use those as examples and then bring up Tina Turner, who is a lighter complexion, I think that's unfair. And I think the way Cassie took him to court, even after getting her money, because she knows what kind of monster he is. And people like Kim Porter may have felt like they had to suffer in silence. Maybe she felt like she had to protect her children. Maybe she still felt some level of protection for him. I don't know. But I think, and Drea, once again, I know somebody's gonna put it in the comments anyway. I know she got after, Surviving R. Kelly had aired, which still changed my life. That shit was scary. How y'all listen to R. Kelly, how people even put that in the back. If you put R. Kelly songs in the background of your TikTok, I have blocked people literally, and I'm just scrolling down my For You page. I don't play that. And she was in the car saying, y'all can't say nothing about him, but he's still talented. And I don't know whether she was drunk, high, or, doing whatever, but that was in poor taste. And it was in poor taste, in the words of Sparkle, it was in poor taste, one, because that had just aired. And then you, of all sources, being the most credible, as his wife, as somebody who had three of his daughters, it appeared very kind of like cognitive dissonance toward the whole abusive situation that I was certainly feeling for you. And then I also, once again, same thing with the Kiki Palmer thing, I understand the nature of abuse to where there's almost like this kind of, well, I've been out there, let me hurry to fix it, right? And people have to go through that process. But I think, I'm sorry, I don't think it's fair to chalk that up to colorism. I don't. I don't. I think Kiki Palmer's situation was different. I think Kiki Palmer was very popular. I think once you put it, people just kind of felt like maybe we need to stay out of it. Um, I never doubted her being abused. I knew she was telling the truth, but she also, so I think it's unfair. And even as I'm critiquing Drea, I'm still trying to be gracious because I have no doubt she was abused, and she probably not. I know she ain't telling everything she's been through, or even everything she's seen, and she couldn't control it. She knows people will judge her for it. I just think, yes, I think domestic violence is also even more layered in the Black community because there's already a deep distrust toward the police who also make situations worse. It's not like they haven't killed us for calling 911 when somebody was having a mental health episode, and that those same cops in that same district have never done that for a mental health episode with a white person. Um, Cops also feel, they tend to have this violence immediately against Black men that could escalate. And so there's still a fear, right? That white women may not experience. I don't think they experience the same way with 911 or with the police. And domestic violence is dangerous. Those men are psychopaths. If I said it once, I said it 1,000 times, most people who murder somebody, even statistically, tend to murder one person. And once they serve their time, they don't murder another person. But men who abuse will do that perpetually. And I feel like it's not considered a more serious crime because there are a whole lot of men who pass laws who are also participants in it. So, I mean, please tell me your thoughts if you want to share your experiences. I just don't think that's fair. I just don't. All right. But I'll talk to y'all soon enough. All right. Y'all have a good weekend.